Hi guys, Squirrel here. I'm in Grand Canyon. No, well, not actually in the Grand Canyon. I'm in one of the towns nearby. I've been flown here by Microsoft for the global launch of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. I'm super excited. We've got a bit of an itinerary. We're going to go on a Humvee. We're going to go on a helicopter ride. We're going to see what Flight Simulator 2024 looks like. Get hands on, get some footage. But this video is all about my trip. I'm going to start off by nipping over the road where there's a very big gift shop and I'm going to buy some things for the family. Let's get started. In a town that exists effectively to serve the airport and Grand Canyon tourists, this large gift shop contained all manner of Grand Canyon themed items that you might expect. Everything from mugs, pens, key rings, fridge magnets, hats, hoodies and t-shirts, and water bottles. However, it also contained a lot of handcrafted and Native American items, things like wooden sculptures, tapestries and blankets, decorative tiles, dream catchers, necklaces and earrings. There were slices of mineral veins, bowls, cups and shot glasses, and of course, plenty of Route 66 merch. I could have spent quite a lot of money in that place, but in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking about how little room I actually have in my suitcase. Got a bag of stuff. It's weird, right? When I landed last night in Phoenix, it was 41 Celsius, which is over 100 Fahrenheit. It's hot. We drove here, there was a thunderstorm on the way, and now it's actually, you probably can't see it, but it's actually raining. And what's really amazed me about the Grand Canyon so far is the fact that it's so green. Like there's trees and grass everywhere. It was sunny this morning, not anymore. It's clouded over, and the driver who brought me here said it's got its own microclimate. It will just come in, rain, and then just move off. He said, you've got to look at the radar all the time. Must be a nightmare being a pilot. Just that kind of weather system going on. Right, let's have a look. What's inside my little giddy bag? Route 60, I have no idea where I'm going to put this stuff. I also got this for me. This has got an eagle attached to it. Bought this little cap. I bought these for the family. Raccoon type thing, more fluffy stuff, you get the idea. Fridge magnet, which says Route 66 on it. And then I got another one. And then finally, I got this for the wife. It's just a little bag, I don't know. She'll put her stuff in it, I'm sure. Women like bags. Right, this was in my hotel room when I got here. And I haven't opened it, so I literally have no clue what is inside this bag. Probably got a water bottle. There's always a water bottle. Oh, look, there's a water bottle. Oh, wow, it's actually quite a nice water bottle. Look at that. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Right, what else have we got? Oh, wow, 500 gigabytes. This may be for tomorrow. We're going to have a capture session with Microsoft Flight Sim 24, and they're going to capture it. I'm guessing that's the stick that we'll take back home with us. Notepad and pen. Again, saying Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. A few weeks ago when I got the invite, they did say, what size are you for merch? It's a Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 hoodie, which is quite nice. And obviously we get this Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 bag. We get to keep it all in. So I shall stop here and I'll see you in the morning. Our day started very early, 6:30 a.m. at check-in, and then we went through for some breakfast, and we then set off for our Humvee tour. It was now about just gone 7 a.m.
That's my friends, I come from one of the native tribes here in the state of Arizona. So not too far, going towards the east side, coming off the Navajo Indian Reservation. So I'll be your Native American Indian driver this morning, okay guys? All right. Yeah, we got a local tour guide here, guys.
And a very nice chap he was too, with lots of history, not only about the Grand Canyon, but about the Native Americans. We then arrived at our first vantage point, and this was the first time I'd ever set eyes on the Grand Canyon in real life. Oh my God.
It just keeps going, doesn't it?
What a great time of the day to see it as well. And it was pretty spectacular. Lots of people walking towards the edge, and looking very scared, thinking they might fall over, but thankfully nobody did. And you can sort of see these like rocky outcrops, these strange constructions as the river has just eroded away the land. You get these weird rocky outcrops. Along the way, we also saw some wildlife. They're all protected species, so they're just not even afraid of humans at all. At this point, this vantage point, you could get just an incredible view, not just at the depth of the Grand Canyon, but the width of it. One of the other tour guides was here, and he was saying, you know, when you look down from top to bottom, there's about 2 billion years of history in terms of its depth. And there's a trail that goes down from the top to the bottom. And every time you take a step down this trail, you go down 10,000 years in history in terms of rock strata, which is just mind-blowing to think of. He then proceeded to tell us that there are squirrels around here. There's plenty of wildlife. There are squirrels. And I then showed him my hat and my name tag, and he was like, okay. He said, well, the squirrels around here are not to be trifled with. He said, I've seen grown men chased away by squirrels. You can't touch them, but they will get quite defensive and even bite you if you're not careful. So I was like, okay. So when we finished looking at the Grand Canyon, we sort of drove back through the towns, and this was like a flashback into old railroad towns. There was lots of tracks here, even like there's a school that was being built. There's people that just live up here, and bear in mind, the elevation here is about 6,500 feet, and you think there's nothing there but the Grand Canyon, but it's not true. Like, there's just entire towns. Lots of things were learned on this little Grand Canyon trip. A spectacular sight at this point. The sun was really coming up. So we then headed back for the next part, which was to sit down and have a presentation. The presentation went on for about an hour and 10 minutes. I got all the facts out of this. We were then taken in a van over to the local airfield. Now, I was very fortunate. I didn't know it yet, but I was very fortunate. I managed to bag a front seat space in these helicopters. They're specifically geared towards this kind of thing. They're a H-130 Airbus helicopter. They've got, you can see a lot of glass on the front, and that gives you a fantastic view forward, but also when you kind of look down. So once we were up in the air, he made a clockwise turn and sort of went back towards the area here for the helicopters, and then did a 180 and proceeded to take us out. But if you look at the flight path as we take off out of here, we basically go over the road and then over the apron of all the planes. We don't actually go near the runway. We just do a banking turn. This is runway 21 that you're looking at. So we do a banking turn over the apron and then head left, which is more or less a northerly track. It's a very smooth helicopter. I was a little bit concerned that we'd get a lot of turbulence, but it's air conditioned. You've got a fantastic view. The captain was super cool, lots of information, and we just took it all in. Now, when this happens, you're looking down and there's a lot of things going through your mind, actually. First of all, you're thinking, well, I'm hoping physics actually works at this point, because I'm pretty helpless. I'm literally floating over the ground. But you look down into this, you're just literally looking back in time, aren't you? You're looking back at millions and millions of years of erosion. You can see the tracks, you can see the Colorado River with its distinctive kind of turquoisey green color, which is colored because of all the minerals that it picks up as it winds its way through the canyon. It's hard to get a sense of perspective, because when you look down and you see these like rapids and you think, oh, they're quite small. But actually, the only time you can really get perspective is when if you can see a person or like a man-made object like a car or a canoe or something like that, something to give you a frame of reference. That's when you realize, actually, those really small rapids down there, they're like 20-foot drop in size. Like, they really are quite big. We then proceeded to have a tour. He pointed out various things on the way, like not just the Colorado itself, but also things like the fault lines that have been generated over the years, and how what we're looking at here used to be on the seabed, but was obviously lifted up by tectonic plates, and then the Colorado River came along and just ate its way into the whole thing. And I said to him, like, bro, you've got an incredible day job. I mean, I know he has to fly very tight circuits. That was the other thing. They have to fly very tight circuit patterns. They're not allowed to fly down low down there at all. It's all very strictly controlled. So then comes the next most interesting part of this trip when, we've been flying around for about 25 minutes, something like that. And then I noticed that we're flying below the land level at this point. We're literally flying into the cliff. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, I'm sure he knows what he's doing. Maybe we're going to make a banking turn, or maybe we're not, but right now it looks like we're flying into the cliff face. At which point he said, you may wonder why I'm flying this way specifically, and the reason is, he said, you see this little hill on the right here? He said, the sun beats down on this all day long. He said, and the heat that rises off it will actually give us a lift. So we take this route not just because of its view, spectacular as it is, but because the helicopter actually gets an updraft as we come over here, and it helps to lift the helicopter back up to ground level. And sure enough, as soon as we passed over that little rock, the thing, he didn't change the collective at all. The helicopter just started to rise, and very quickly we were back over on the main landmass, which was pretty awesome. As we look down, there's just so many trees, which is not really what I expected from the Grand Canyon. Incredible amounts of greenery, because it more or less rains here like every afternoon. As we headed back, he took us over the trees again, and this time I really started to notice there's all these trees growing, but there's just countless numbers of them that are falling and laying on the ground. There's so much dead wood out there. Then we headed back and came in pretty much on a direct approach, but again, we didn't go near the runway. We went straight into the helicopter landing area for what was just an incredible tour of the Grand Canyon. So after we landed and the helicopter had shut down, we got to get out and have a walk around. And then we were taken back to the hotel and back to the computer room where we were allowed to carry on. Now, at this point, you may have seen some other people's footage where you saw like a red man sticking out of the cockpit of their footage. That was something that happened in the morning when we were recording, and by the time we got to the afternoon, they'd actually fixed that problem. So what I then did was the SSD that they'd given us, which had a 0.5 terabyte SSD, I formatted it. I just wiped all of my recorded footage and started again. So then proceeded to go all back through the menus, recording bits and pieces, and did all my footage again so that it wouldn't have this hilarious red man sticking out of the cockpit. In terms of like career mode, we didn't get to experience it. I mean, we've only got like an hour and a half, 2 hours of time. It's not a lot. And the SSD, you can only record an hour of 10 of 4K footage. So we really were restrictive about, what we can actually record. It was limited time, limited day, and limited SSD space. So I just sort of went through all the different planes that I could. A lot of them were locked out. I played with the sim itself. It's a bit strange when you jump on a new simulator and you don't know the controls. You've got to spend 20 minutes just working out how to fly in the sim. And then you've got to decide within your couple of hours where you're going to go and what weather you're going to set. So I played around with the different weather systems and got a visual feel of everything, and the Grand Canyon just looks genuinely incredible. But I played around with the air turbulence, with the weather systems, thunderstorms, you name it. I had a look around different parts of the world, the night sky, the lighting is just incredible now. Even landed in the fields. I tried landed on snow, as you may have seen in my original video, because I wanted to experience this very detailed terrain they talked about. So I spawned into Alaska, and when I was flying around the mountains looking at it all, it looks incredibly detailed. I looked down and saw like a couple of huts on the right. I thought, you know what, I'm going to go and land near them. And as you get closer to the ground, you notice the terrain detail just get even more like detailed. And then you start to see little rocks and all kinds of things that you couldn't see before. Suddenly, it's all there, and you just think, crikey, this really is procedurally generated detail. I was then messing about with the drone camera, just flying around, and I happened to fly through the fuselage. And I don't know how many other influencers clocked it, but in the back of this 737 were people. Like, they'd actually fully modeled all these people just, sat in the back playing with the phone. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like, I genuinely didn't think that was even in the sim, but there it was. So yeah, I got a lot of footage all the way up to the maximum time, filled my hard drive up, and then it was time to leave and head out for the happy hour at the bar. So I think we had like 2 hours of free drinks. So I had a few IPAs, chatted to all the influencers who'd come along that day. It was about 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening at this point, and we're all pretty done. Like, it'd been a very long day, just been bombarded with information. And so I thought to myself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up early in the morning, I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to record my thoughts on the day. And that's what I did. Hi guys, it's 7:30 a.m. the day after. Things are just getting started here. People are starting to wake up. Yesterday was a full-on day, as expected. Started very early, 6:30. We all got in the back of this giant Humvee. I think it did perhaps 4 gallons to the mile, you know. Literally, it started off on a full tank, and at the end of the trip, which only lasted about 90 minutes, it was on half a tank. Anyway, I don't know what to say. Like, you've seen pictures of the Grand Canyon. When you first see it for the first time, and you stand near the edge and you look down, and it is something else. It is absolutely, well, it's majestic, is what it is. We then had a presentation from Jörg Newman, head of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and Sebastian Vlock, the CEO of Asobo. They basically took us through Microsoft Flight Sim 2024, like what they've been doing for the last sort of 4 or 5 years. They've really moved it on, like it's just a step change. The amount of detail in the terrain, which is one of the reasons they brought us to the Grand Canyon, because when you fly around it in the sim, it genuinely looks like the Grand Canyon now. The detail is just incredible what they've done. But yeah, they basically took us through the whole thing. Big focus on career mode this time, as we know, which is quite detailed by the look of it. We didn't really get to see a lot of it, but the career mode, by all accounts, almost has like a tech tree that you have to unlock. You know, to get qualifications and different things, in jet engines, etc., before you can fly. And then you've got to save up the money to buy your own aircraft. And then when you get your own aircraft, you take the risk on, so if you damage it, then you've got to pay the maintenance and repairs. So everything you would expect from a career mode, but you know, we didn't really see it in any detail. Then we got taken through, and we got to play on the sim itself, and that's when I spent quite a bit of time, spent about an hour just getting used to it all, getting all the controls in place, and then got whisked off, and we flew for, I think it's 45 minutes, a tour of the Grand Canyon. Now that was something else. And then we came back, and then we spent more time on the sim. So I got to really play around with it this time. Had a look at the cloud and the weather systems. The weather system has been improved quite a bit with its kind of simulation of weather, like the rain that comes in. You see it moving across the terrain in pockets, and it can be raining. You know, you put it on thunderstorm, and it can be absolutely raining hard on the plane, on the runway, and then the rain just kind of moves off, and it's all in the distance, and you can hear the thunder, and then the rain comes back. It's very dynamic, very kind of visceral experience. I just want to say, like, a huge thank you to Microsoft flying us all out here to do this. I mean, I know it was a long trip for a lot of us. It's an experience, like what an experience to have like that, and to get to see the sim, and to bring, you know, this information to you guys and my thoughts on the whole thing. So a huge thank you to Microsoft for doing that, and also to Asobo for creating this sim, because they really have. You can tell, like, this is a passion for them. This is not a project, you know what I mean? They just pour in everything into it, and they've got this third-party add-on developers like joined the team now as well, working title, and you know, they really are trying to make the best sim. They did say that this is probably the most complicated simulator ever made for a consumer market, and I can genuinely say, hand on heart, I think they're right. Like, what they've done, they showed you the particle simulation physics that goes on, just, you know, with the helicopter, with the rotaries, the wind turbulence that you've now got. So even if you fly online, if an aircraft departs in front of you and then you line up, you'll get turbulence. Like, it lasts up to 5 minutes. They showed you a graphic of it happening as you take off, like all the lift that generates the turbulence, and it just leaves a big trail on the runway. So yeah, huge thank you to the Microsoft team. I've had an amazing time. I've got to get a shuttle bus in 2 hours' time. That's a 3.5-hour drive back to Phoenix International, and then a 10-hour flight back to London Heathrow. So yeah, it's been an amazing trip, guys, and thanks for watching.